What's up YouTube? Brian here, back again with another video, and today we're going to be talking about casting reels, specifically high-end casting reels, and we're going to be looking at kind of the two flagship competitors in this space, the Metanium B, the Shimano Metanium, and the Daiwa Steez. So this is a Steez A. We're going to be kind of talking about these. I've actually had time on the water with both of these reels. I've been using them for a while now, and I want to do a video where it's like thoughts and opinions. I'm not going to be going over like tech specs and what each one's made out of and the gears and reading all the website stuff. You guys can do that. This is not a promotional video. I'm not trying to sell you on these. What this video is, on the water impressions from someone who has no bias whatsoever. I'm not a Shimano guy. I'm not a Daiwa person. I'm not a brand specific person. I'm just going to give you my honest thoughts and opinions about using these reels on the water. I have a bunch, and hopefully help you make a better informed buying decision. If you're looking to jump up into this like kind of higher end bait casting world, which one do you buy? What are the pros and cons? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to start by talking about the Shimano Metanium. I have a lot of thoughts and opinions on this new version. I owned the previous generation Shimano Metanium, the big silver one, the one that looks like a Cylon. Now, I love that reel. Great, been easy to maintain. I haven't gotten any like grindiness out of the gear. You know, I know that like the aluminum gear on those things sometimes tended to make some noise, but mine's been great. When they came out with this reel, a lot of people are super excited about it because, for one, looks amazing. I mean, they got rid of the super silver look. They went with this like matte, dark, gunmetal gray look. People are really excited about the aesthetics of this thing. They made it smaller, palms better. It's more low profile. They apparently upgraded the braking system on this thing. It's incredibly smooth. This is a very, 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 very smooth reel, especially out of the box. And I've had a lot of time on the water with this reel, and it's still extremely smooth. So smoothness, great. Looks department, great. On the water, this thing, when you get this reel dialed in, the cast this thing can make is incredible. It can chuck baits a very long distance across most of the weight ranges. I use this for throwing a lot around jigs and a lot of Texas rigs and basically baits I need to launch a long distance. I was shocked at how good this thing could throw baits. I had a Corrado DC, and this thing threw as far, if not maybe even further than the Corrado DC. So this thing, if you're like, oh, I got to get a DC to throw baits a long ways, not really. You can chuck a bait with a Metanium MGL for sure. Okay, so those are the pros. Smooth, looks cool. It is a Metanium, so it is made out of magnesium. So this is a magnesium-bodied reel. So, the lightweight material. Let's talk about the cons. A couple cons. Number one, this thing is finicky. When you get this when you get a bait dialed in with this thing, making all the adjustments to the brake and getting everything tuned, and you got that bait hucking really well. When you switch baits or the conditions change, like you got some new wind or something changes on the water where your braking profile isn't like perfect anymore, this thing can get squirrely. I had a lot of days where I had the bait dialed in, the wind would shift, and now I'm casting into the wind or whatever, and I started getting backlashes, and I'm like, oh crap, I got to readjust this thing. That's where the biggest flaw in this reel comes in. If you have a vision problem, this is one of the, in Shimano products in general, almost all Shimano baitcasters I have this complaint with, but adjusting this thing is ridiculously hard if you have a vision problem. I have astigmatism. I wear contacts, and when I'm wearing my contacts, my up-close vision isn't great because my contacts are more dialed in for long-distance vision. This is me on the water trying to adjust this thing. I'm like this. Trying to focus, trying to see the stupid little white numbers on this thing. Shimano made this incredibly hard to read. The numbers on the dial, you can't read them. They're white, but they're super thin, so you can't actually see the numbers, especially if you're wearing sunglasses and you're out on a glary day. Then they don't give you any feedback. So when you're turning the dial with your fingernail, you don't really know how much you're turning. There's no clicking. There's no feedback. And also, I can never remember which way is tighter or looser. So I'll make a cast, and then I'll go, oh, which way do I got to go? I'll try that way. Make a cast. Oh, no, wrong. Got to go back. Dialing this thing is a pain in the ass. Not to mention getting the side plate off if you want to add, because this has 4 brakes that you can turn on or off. So you're dock skipping and you want to add that 3rd brake just to really huck a bait under docks. Or you want to huck a heavier bait and you want to back just to 1 brake off. This thing is not intuitive at all to get the side plate off. You have to turn the thing up, and then there's a gasket. There's a gasket, and it doesn't automatically like come off. You got to kind of pull on it. So you got to pop this thing off. Then you got to make your brake adjustments, and then you have to line this thing perfectly back up. You got to get the teeth to sink in on the side plate so it clicks in, and then you have to remember which way to turn the cap thing, it's a dance. It's like, this is a dance, like a procedure to get this thing dialed in. You're wasting time. You get frustrated. I got annoyed with this reel on more than one occasion where I'm like, why? I just want to put it down. I'm like, this thing's pissing me off. So adjusting this thing, if you don't have great, perfect vision, sucks. It's not super intuitive. Once you do get it dialed in, casts amazing. Great casting reel. Super smooth, looks great. Now on the material department, because this is an MGL, you think this thing is really light. This thing weighs 6.8 ounces with a full line of spool. The Steez A, which is an aluminum body, is 7 ounces. So 6.8, 7. And then when you bring in the Zillion is 6.9. So this isn't like a big weight change. You do get a big weight difference when you go to the Aldebaran. So Aldebaran is crazy light. Let me throw out a scale real quick with a full thing of line. So this is 6.8. The Aldebaran is 5.1. So if you really want that magnesium lightweight experience, you have to get you got to get the Aldebaran. This thing is still light. It's very light, but with a spool line on it, it's not really any lighter than the Steez. So so something to keep in mind. It's light-ish. It's not like crazy light. These are crazy light. The Steez TW. I'm sorry, the Steez SV, this is the magnesium version of the Steez. This thing is crazy light. Kind of light. It's nice. It does palm really well, super low profile, feels great in the hand. Once you got dialed in and you're using it, it's a pleasure. But it's finicky. So that's my number one complaint about the Metanium. Also, people have mechanical problems with these. My worm gear sticks on this thing every once in a while. It has a plastic worm gear. So what's funny is like, it's got a plastic worm gear for 400, these things are what, $440 now? Oh, what's the going rate on the Metanium? These are $440. So 440 bucks. There's some plastic parts in here. So, I don't know. You see a lot of these things for sale in the used market. People seem to be dumping these all the time. I've heard of problems with mechanical issues on these things, quality control not so great. Whatever. This one been a little finicky. Worm gear sticks once in a while. It does. I probably need to get it serviced. I don't know why it does it. Sometimes it does it. Sometimes it doesn't. But anyway, so if you're a Shimano fanboy, this is not the best reel on earth. It just isn't. It's a good reel. It's $430. Is this worth $430? I don't know. Didn't blow me away. I think Cerados, especially like a Cerado 150 or even the older Chronarchs, there's still very compelling arguments in the Shimano line versus stepping up to the Metanium. Now, we're going to talk about the Steez A. So I picked up a bunch of Steez A's in the last couple of years, and I've been using the crap out of them. I have 4 of these now. I have to say, the Steez A is a complete and utter pleasure to fish with, just because of how easy it is to use. You know what you got to do when you change a bait or the wind changes on a Steez A? You go like this. Hear that click? You click it once or twice. It's got the Shimano or the Daiwa reels have a very nice big click wheel with very big white legible numbers, and you get feedback. Click. The most clicks I've ever had to do to adjust a bait when or the wind changes is like 2. So I usually leave it like maybe 7 or 8. Between 7 to 10, and then if the wind kicks up, I just click it once, it's good to go. Wind goes down, or I switch to the lighter blade, click down 2, good to go. This thing is incredibly user-friendly. Now, what's funny is I almost want to tell people who are getting into bass fishing, if you're just entering the space and you're just starting out to use a bait caster, this sounds ridiculous, but you should have a Steez as your first bait casting reel, because life is just easy. Just cast great, don't have to screw around with it much. Yeah, it's really hard to backlash these things, especially once you got them perfectly dialed in. It's just an overall pleasure to use. It's smooth, casts super nice. There's really like the best compliment to a Steez is that it's a boring user experience. No drama. This is the most drama-free reel I've ever used in my life. It just works. You pick it up, you throw it, it works. Newbies should be buying $500 Steezes because your experience will be so great. You'll love throwing bait casters. If you go and pick up like a $50 Abu Garcia Black Max, that thing's gonna be unruly. You're not gonna have a pleasurable experience, and you're gonna hate bait casters, and you're going around telling people, I can't throw a bait caster, it sucks. Use one of these your first day out. you're going to think baitcasters are the best thing on earth. Just facts. Now, downsides to the Steez A is the price. You know, these things are $500. And if you go up into the Steez A SV spool, so the Steez A is the aluminum body. This is the all-around reel. This is just made for kind of doing everything. This is their SV. This is more their finesse reel. Has the SV spool. It is aluminum. On the scale, this guy is very light. She comes in at... Oop. Let me reset the scale, sorry. She comes in really light. She's really close to the Aldebaran. She's at 5.7, so 5.7 ounces without line. The Aldebaran's 5.1 with line. So super light, you know, more finessey than the regular Steez A. Now, I have to say, if I'm going to make a choice and I'm going to spend over $400, I think the Steez A, even though it's a much older platform, this thing's came out in like 2017, it is an overall much, much, much better user experience than the Met. The Met can probably outcast the Steez A bait for bait when you get them dialed in. I mean, this thing is a phenomenal caster, but the legibility of the adjustments, the fact that I don't have to crack the side plate open to add brakes, you know, on and off. It's a fully magnetic system. The fact that this thing is super smooth out of the gate as well. I mean, both of these are incredibly smooth. I mean, when you're getting into this price point, you just expect smoothness. They're both great. The Steez A is a little bigger than the Metanium, but the thing is, with what's interesting about the Steez A is how rounded it is around the body and how well it palms. Like your hand, at least my hand, I'm a bigger guy, I'm 6'2". When I'm wrapping my hand around the Steez A, it is just incredibly comfortable. It is a slightly bigger reel, you know, by today's modern standards. It is a bigger reel than the new Zillion. We're gonna talk about the Zillion in a second. But just for me, on all my rods, when I'm using the Steez A, my hand just fits perfect. It's easy. The contours around here, you're not touching the brake because there's a like, this is your finger wraps around the bottom part of the brake, like right here. So you're not really ever touching the brake like on a Tatula. Your hand is like on that brake all the time. Whereas on the Steez, it just wraps perfectly around. You know, you're like, whoop, right there. I mean, look at that. Just perfect. So yes, this thing has the T-wing, so if you're running leader knots, T-wings apparently aren't great for leader knots. I don't run leader knots outside of my top water setup, and my leader knot is only about this far out, so it never goes into the reel, so I don't really have any thoughts, opinions on it. I run fluorocarbon or braid on everything just straight. So, you know, if you're a braid to leader person, you might like the traditional line guide on the Metaniums more than the T-wing. That's personal preference. Point is, these are both great reels. Just in my personal experience, if I was just going to pick one, I'm going to champion the Steezes. But now there's a new competitor to this space, and that's the Zillion. So I will say, if you're not keen on spending $500 to $550 on these Steez, the Zillion is an incredible option. I would argue that the ease of use of the Steez is matched in the Zillion. The Zillion has the incredible adjustment dial down on the bottom. You know, clicky, clicky, super easy to make adjustments. This thing casts and is as refined as the Steez A, and it is just as pleasurable to use. And you can get these for, you know, $300, $350, maybe even less with discounts. Anyway, point is, this is a winner. Steez A's are definitely a winner. And then I would say B tier is definitely the Metanium B. I mean, this is just personal opinion. I'm not a Daiwa fanboy. I'm not a Shimano fanboy. But on the water experience, love the Steez A's. I've been buying more of them. They've been replicating in my lineup. You can get them used on the used market for, you know, $290 to $350, somewhere in there. You can find these. People dump them. They hold up to a lot of abuse, so you can get used ones and they still work great. Metaniums, if you're a Shimano fanboy, they're good. I don't love them. I don't think they're great. I don't think these are A+ reels. I think they have some issues. For me personally. So anyway, I hope these thoughts and opinions kind of help. Let's have a discussion. Leave comments in this video on which reels you like better. Are you a Metanium fan? Are you a Steez fan? Are you a Zillion fan? But you know, it's hard to make an argument that you shouldn't buy a Zillion versus a Steez just because of the amount of money saved. And the Zillion's palm a little smaller. They look cool, silver, just as refined. So anyway, that's my thoughts and opinions. Thank you for watching. If you've made it this far in the video, please hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.